Something is happening right now that's forcing astronomers to question everything. 3I/ATLAS, that bizarre interstellar object we've been tracking, just got company, and they're moving like twins. Comet C/2025R2SWAN appeared out of nowhere, positioned on the exact opposite side of Earth. Both have the same impossible feature, tails pointing straight at the sun. Both glow the same eerie green. Both orbit near the ecliptic plane. And both develop these reverse tails at nearly the same time, creating a perfect symmetrical formation around our planet. Let's dive right in. Here's what you need to understand about comets. Their tails always point away from the sun. It's not a suggestion. It's physics. Solar wind and radiation pressure blast material outward, creating those iconic streaming tails we've photographed for centuries. This is textbook behavior, the kind of thing that never changes. Until now, when 3I/ATLAS first showed signs of a reverse tail, the astronomy community treated it as a curiosity. Rare? Yes. Impossible? Not quite. Under very specific geometric conditions, certain angles between Earth and a comet's orbital plane can create the illusion of a sunward tail. Larger dust particles, less affected by radiation pressure, might appear to point the wrong way. The explanations were technical, careful, and just plausible enough to file away as interesting but resolved. Then R2SWAN appeared, and that careful explanation started falling apart. R2SWAN reached its closest approach to the Sun on September 12th, coming within 0.5 astronomical units, half the distance between Earth and our star. At that range, you're deep in the Sun's radiation zone, where any loose material gets hammered by solar wind. Throughout early November, observers tracked it behaving exactly as expected. A standard tail streaming away from the sun. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. But by November 18th, something had changed. A second structure emerged from the comet's nucleus, growing steadily more prominent with each passing night. This wasn't a faint anomaly or a smudge on somebody's telescope lens. This was a distinct, stable jet of material extending toward the sun, fighting against every known force that should be pushing it away. The astronomer's telegram, one of the most respected rapid notification systems in professional astronomy, confirmed the observations through multiple independent teams, different observatories, different equipment, different parts of the world, all seeing the same thing. When that level of verification happens, you're no longer dealing with error. You're dealing with reality. And 3I/ATLAS was already doing the exact same thing, on the opposite side of Earth. Let's talk about positioning, because this is where the story shifts from peculiar to deeply unsettling. When you map both objects in three-dimensional space, they form a nearly perfect symmetry around our planet. Not approximately opposite, not roughly aligned, geometrically precise, like 2 points on a circle with Earth at dead center. Think about what that means. R2SWAN, a comet with a 784-year orbital period, just happened to arrive during the same narrow window as 3I/ATLAS, an interstellar object from outside our solar system. Both settled into orbits near the ecliptic plane, where planetary activity concentrates. Both emit the same distinctive green glow from excited C2 molecules. Both showed fragmentation and sudden brightness increases. Both developed their impossible sunward tails within days of each other. This isn't cherry-picking coincidences. This is a pattern so tight it demands explanation. Now, solar physicists will point to the sun's current activity cycle. We're entering solar maximum, when our star's magnetic field gets turbulent, flipping and twisting in ways that can create localized disturbances. Maybe, they suggest, both comets wandered into regions where plasma conditions reversed normal behavior. It's theoretically possible, but here's the problem with that explanation. It requires both objects to be in exactly the right place at exactly the right time, experiencing identical conditions despite being millions of miles apart in completely different orbital positions. The solar wind doesn't work that precisely. It's chaotic, turbulent, constantly shifting. For two objects to respond identically to that chaos, synchronized down to the week they developed their reverse tails, stretches probability past the breaking point. Let's be absolutely clear about what observers are seeing. These Sunward tails aren't flickering or unstable. They're not dissolving and reforming like you'd expect from temporary plasma interactions. They maintain consistent geometry as both objects move through space. Professional and amateur astronomers tracking R2SWAN describe it as moving quite rapidly across the sky, yet the reverse tail holds its shape, pointing steadily sunward like a compass locked on target. Normal comet tails, heavily buffeted by solar wind, twist and fragment constantly. These don't. They're structured, stable, and persistent. That level of stability suggests something more organized than random dust responding to radiation pressure. The astronomer's telegram also documented something else happening during this same time frame. K1 Atlas, yet another comet often confused with 3I/Atlas, broke into 4 separate pieces. So we're not just seeing two objects with reverse tails. We're seeing a cascade of unusual activity across the near-Sun comet population. Fragmentation events, brightness spikes, synchronized anomalies, all compressed into a few weeks. The entire environment is behaving erratically. What could drive that kind of coordinated change? One possibility that keeps surfacing in cutting-edge plasma physics research is that we're fundamentally underestimating how dynamic and responsive plasma can be. Plasma makes up 99% of the visible universe. It dominates the space between stars, fills planetary magnetospheres, and creates phenomena we observe but don't fully understand. Recent theoretical work suggests plasma might exhibit self-organizing behavior under certain conditions. Not consciousness in any biological sense, but pattern formation, energy regulation, response to external stimuli. When comets dive into the sun's intense plasma environment, they're not just passively sublimating ice. They're interacting with charged particle streams, twisted magnetic fields, and radiation pressure in ways that might trigger organized structures we don't yet have models for. If plasma physics can create synchronized responses across vast distances through magnetic field coupling or some other mechanism we haven't characterized, that would explain the lockstep behavior without requiring anything exotic. But it would also mean our current understanding of how comets interact with the solar environment is incomplete at a fundamental level. There's another angle here that needs addressing directly. Could these objects be artificial? Not spacecraft in the sense of metal hulls and rocket engines, but technology so far beyond our current capabilities that it operates on principles we're only beginning to grasp. If a civilization develops the ability to manipulate plasma, magnetic fields, or space-time itself, their presence might not look like anything we'd recognize as manufactured. It might appear completely natural, indistinguishable from comets or asteroids until you notice the patterns. Consider the scale we're working with. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our sun is 4.6 billion years old, relatively young in cosmic terms. Within just a few light years, we have multiple star systems. Proxima Centauri at 4.24 light years, Alpha Centauri, Sirius, Barnard's star, dozens more within 20 light years. Red dwarf stars, which are exceptional candidates for life-bearing planets, are everywhere in our galactic neighborhood. We've now confirmed thousands of exoplanets, many in habitable zones. The statistical probability that Earth is the only planet to develop intelligent life in our galaxy alone borders on zero. If even one civilization reached interstellar capability 1 million years ago, an eye blink in cosmic time, they would have had more than enough time to explore, establish presence, or maintain observation networks throughout nearby systems. So, when two objects appear in precise formation around Earth, displaying identical behavior that defies conventional physics, the question isn't whether intelligence could be involved. The question is what signatures would indicate intelligence and whether what we're observing matches those signatures. I'm not claiming 3I/ATLAS and R2SWAN are spacecraft. I'm saying we need to be honest about the gaps in our knowledge and the limitations of our detection capabilities. R2SWAN wasn't spotted until it was already approaching perihelion. Its entire journey into the inner solar system happened outside our observation range, despite thousands of telescopes and monitoring networks. We still have massive blind spots in our surveillance of near-Earth space. What keeps me coming back to this story, what makes it genuinely significant rather than just another space oddity, is how the similarities keep stacking up with each new observation. It's not just reverse tails anymore. The jet structures match. The specific patterns of how material ejects from each nucleus mirror each other. The brightness fluctuations track together. Even their trajectories through space show synchronized characteristics. And all of this developed within the same compressed time frame, despite these objects being in completely different regions of the solar system, experiencing different gravitational influences, different solar radiation levels, different plasma conditions. Whatever triggered these changes acted across millions of miles simultaneously, affecting both objects in identical ways. That's not how natural systems typically behave. Natural processes are messy, chaotic, individualized. When you see this level of coordination, it suggests either an underlying mechanism we haven't discovered or something guiding the behavior. Either possibility would be revolutionary. So where does this leave us? Right now, we're watching two objects moving in perfect formation around Earth, both displaying behavior that shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of physics. Same reverse tails, same green glow, same timing, same symmetrical positioning. This isn't speculation. It's documented observation from multiple independent sources worldwide. Whether this represents plasma dynamics we haven't fully mapped, or something that challenges our assumptions about what's possible in our solar system, one thing is certain. The space around us is far more active and mysterious than we've been taught. 3I/ATLAS and R2SWAN are still out there, still being tracked, and new data is coming in every single day. This story is unfolding in real time, and what we learn in the coming weeks could fundamentally change how we understand our cosmic neighborhood. If you want to stay ahead of what happens next, subscribe to Galactic Breaking News and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update. Drop a like on this video if this information opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered before. And tell me in the comments, do you think this is natural plasma behavior we haven't documented yet, or are we looking at something more deliberate? Your perspective matters, and I read every comment. The universe is sending signals. Let's make sure we're paying attention. I'll see you in the next one.